After Abraham's encounter with Melchizedek, the Lord appeared to Abram with his assuring words. Do not be afraid, Abram. I am your shield, your exceedingly great reward. Genesis 15:1. Immediately, Abram appeared to let out an outburst. Lord God, what will you give me, seeing I go childless? And the heir of my house is Eliezer of Damascus. Look, you have given me no offspring. Indeed, one born in my house is my heir. Genesis 15, verses 2 and 3. Abram was probably impatient with God. He had been waiting for far too long for Sarai to conceive in order to fulfill God's promise concerning a nation through his descendants. Abraham even tried to help God by appointing his faithful servant Eliezer as his heir to inherit God's promise. Man proposes, God disposes. The Lord gently corrected Abraham. This one shall not be your heir, but one who will come from your own body shall be your heir. Genesis 15:4. Then the Lord gave Abraham a visual experience of his promise. Look now toward heaven and count the stars. If you are able to number them, so shall your descendants be. 15:5. Abraham was indeed awestruck at what he saw and heard. And what was his response? We read, and he believed in the Lord, and he accounted it to him for righteousness. 15:6. This is the first verse in the Bible that tells us how sinful humanity can be made right before God. This is a powerful verse that is repeated in the New Testament. Romans 4:3, Galatians 3:6, and James 2:23. It forms the basis for justification by faith. Abraham believed. He trusted God for the opening of Sarai's womb. Because of his faith, God accounted Abraham as righteous. There was nothing Abraham could do to open Sarai's womb. He had to trust God completely. God said that he would keep his word, and Abraham believed. God had promised that Abraham would be the father of a great nation, and that nation would inherit Canaan. I am the Lord God who brought you out of Ur of the Chaldeans to give you this land to inherit it. 15:7. What a marvelous assurance. In response to this, Abraham requested a sign. Lord God, how shall I know that I will inherit it? 15:8. Then the Lord ratified his covenant with Abraham in a most unique way. Abraham was instructed to cut 3 animals into half: a heifer, a female goat, and a ram. The 2 halves of each animal were placed opposite each other. Beside this, there was a turtle dove and a young pigeon, being sacrificed but not cut in two. Then when evening came, Abraham fell into a deep sleep. And in that sleep he saw a vision of a smoking oven and a burning torch passing between those animal pieces. He heard the Lord pronounce his covenant. To your descendants I have given you this land, from the river of Egypt to the great river, the river Euphrates, Genesis 15:12-18. What does this ritual mean? In ancient times, an oath or a covenant was made between two parties, with a ritual that involved cutting the sacrificial animals into two, with the two halves of each animal placed in two rows facing each other. The two parties of equal status would make the oath when they walked together between the animal halves, pronouncing the oath. But God had put Abram into a deep sleep so that he could not participate in the ritual. Only God by himself, represented by the smoking oven and flaming torch, walked between the pieces, making his proclamation of the covenant. This was because Abram was not and could never be equal in status to God. It was God alone who ratified the covenant, walking between the pieces. It was God alone who pronounced the words of the covenant. The author of Hebrews explained clearly. For when God made a promise to Abraham, because he could swear by no one greater, he swore by himself. Hebrews 6:13. The Abrahamic Covenant was unilaterally ratified by God, who is all sovereign. Abraham had no part in it. He was not of equal status with God. The smoking oven was a small furnace used to purify or refine metals such as gold. This is a symbol of God, our refiner. The torch symbolized the fiery presence of God. Combining both symbols, we have God as our refining fire. When we enter into his presence, we are refined by his holiness. By this act, God bound himself by an oath that he would certainly fulfill the Abrahamic Covenant. What a faithful God that we have. By the way, the land promised to Abraham stretches from the river of Egypt, or the Nile River, to the Euphrates River, 15:18. What is the boundary of modern-day Israel today? Have a look at the map of the Middle East. How do we see God's prophetic word being fulfilled in the future?